there will be so many more challenges and you have to face them, like you are you and you can't expect others to do something in order for you to feel better. You have to do it yourself. And I think by just canceling those filters or whatever, or saying, Kim Kardashian, please gain weight again. No, we can't help people. You have to become strong inside so that doesn't even affect you anymore. And I think that's a learning experience by seeing someone looking super different and knowing, oh, they're just using a filter, like it doesn't affect me because I know it's fake.
To LifewithLiza podcast. Our mission at LifewithLiza is to share people's stories and the challenges that they have overcome so that those who are listening in can get the strength, the courage, and the hope to be their better selves. And today we have a very empowering guest with a very empowering story. And as we all know, the most empowering stories come from the personal challenges that the person has overcome. And indeed, she has overcome quite a big challenge. She went on her first diet almost 10 years ago, and ever since then has developed strange relationships with food, either losing weight and looking toned and lean, and then gaining weight through binge eating and not being able to cope with the extreme dieting. But now she has managed to find a way. And not only she has managed to find a way for herself personally, which is already a huge accomplishment, she is sharing it with a huge community of people. She has created the S Diary series on YouTube, which are so useful and so relatable. You can really feel that she's showing her true self and not pretending to be anyone else. And also she is sharing very nice and relatable tips on TikTok to her huge community of almost 7,000 people, and also connected with her community on Instagram. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. Samira, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Liza.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to be here.
And I was thinking, let's start our conversation with how your story started. If we go back 10 years ago and you decided to go on your first diet, why did you decide to go on your first diet? What were your thoughts at that point?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like 10 and a half years ago now. It was in April 2012, I think. Yeah, 2012. And I was in my second year of university, and I wouldn't move so much anymore. I would study all the time. I had like a Burger King next to uni or next to the train station. Whenever I was waiting for the train, I would have like a Big Mac or like a burger, a Whopper, whatever you can get there. And then at home, I would have more food. I would cook with my then boyfriend, and I gained like 5-7 kilos or something, and I already noticed that all of my clothing were much, much tighter and stuff. And I decided to go on my first diet because I didn't feel comfortable anymore. And I did it in a very healthy way. I started working out. Like my ex-boyfriend back then, he introduced me into like a gym and everything. And it worked. I lost the weight I had gained in a very healthy way, nothing extreme. Like it took me a month, like 5 kilos or something, and I don't know, 4 months or something, super healthy, nothing extreme. But I hated uni. I hated university. I didn't like what I was studying. I was unhappy. I studied business administration. I just went in there because I didn't really know what else to do. I was young, and I was modeling semi-professional, and I knew I would get, back then, like 10 years ago, the market was just different. You were either very plus size or very, very thin. These days we have like a regular size. So women like with natural figures can work as well. But back then I had to be super skinny, so I thought, if you lose a few more kilos, you'll get better job and you can drop out of uni, and that's what I've tried, and I did not succeed. Luckily, I always say, because it's very, very heavy, but basically I was a failed anorexic. I tried to not eat, but my brain took care of myself, and I became a bulimic. I just couldn't not eat, which I'm very grateful for the silver lining, that I was never able to actually not eat any longer, which can be super like life threatening, So yeah, that's how it started.
So did you become bulimic after you started the dieting, or how did it?
Yeah. So I lost the initial weight I wanted to lose, those 5-6 kilos, whatever it was. I can't remember anymore. And then when I I had a big casting coming up, and I think I had 4 weeks or something. So I would really just eat nothing or try to eat nothing. I would only eat like watermelon and lentil soup, and I would like mix it with water so I had the same volume but less calories, like some crazy stuff like that. And that worked for a few weeks, but at some point your body just takes what it needs, and that's when I had my first binge attack. And obviously I didn't binge on strawberries or on salad or something, like you binge on the things diet culture claims to be bad, like cookies and I don't know, like fast food and processed food and stuff. And so I went to the grocery store and I had a huge like binge haul, I bought everything I would forbid myself. And then I would eat everything within, I don't know, like less than 10 minutes. And then I felt regret. It was the first time that I was like, oh no, like your progress, what did you do? And then I obviously went back on a diet to compensate, and that was the beginning. Like I always say, those binge attacks were a habit, like, and they became so intense. And because I did it over and over again. I went back on a diet then until I couldn't resist the urge any longer. I had another binge attack, and then I felt huge regret and guilt. So I went back on a even more restrictive diet. And that's how I entered the entire cycle. And if you do something over and over again, it becomes a habit and effortlessly, and yeah. But I didn't know that back then. So I thought, what I was doing, compensating and making up for the calories I had yesterday by skipping breakfast today, I thought that was the right way to do.
Yeah. And I feel like if we could go back in time and actually speak to our younger selves,
definitely,
there's so many things we could have mentioned and said that would definitely help them, and just also giving a big warm hug to that person who's trying their best and they just don't know any better. So if anyone is now 10 years ago starting this cycle or in the midst of the cycle, if you could go back to younger self and say a few words, what would you actually say?
I would say stop dieting. Like the first thing I would say is stop dieting, and then I would tell myself, if it's not possible for you to maintain such a low weight or even reach that low weight, it's not natural for you. You'll never be able to maintain that weight without paying a big price, and which is your mental health, but also your physical health. I would tell my younger self that all the models you see online, they go through the same stuff, they starve themselves. Like a woman my height, like I'm almost 180 centimeters, like 5'11" almost. It's impossible to maintain a weight of a woman that is 5'5", and then I would tell her to to pursue a different career. If there's no market for you, because for me back then it was the main reason, because I wanted to work, I wanted to do it professionally, the modeling, and that's why I wanted to lose more weight, that's what I would say. But I would definitely also say the models are not transparent. When you see these days, I'm not a person, like, I don't blame anyone, I would never blame like Nicole Richie for being too skinny back then or anything. It's also just a human being, what is she supposed to do? Travel back in time and eat more? So I feel better. I would never do that. But what I find a bit sad is that there was never any transparency, that like very thin models or people claim to be just natural and balanced, whilst they were actually under eating to maintain such a low weight, because, you know, it's just not possible. And I didn't know that. I thought, but she can look like that. Why isn't it working for me? You know, and I would never expect people to be bigger in order for me to feel better, but maybe just not lying and being transparent that the way they look like is not possible in a natural and healthy way.
It's very interesting because I remember I was watching a video from a Victoria's Secret model. I think her name is Romy, the Dutch one. And she was also saying that her relationship with food, and how actually by having all of these diets to maintain a certain look, she actually developed these health issues, that she didn't have her period. And then because she was traveling as a teenager, following the diets and all of these things, and she was just didn't even realize what she was doing to her body.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how only now, a bit later, this story started coming out, and also which shows that there are healthy ways of maintaining a healthy body is one thing, but also there's so many unhealthy ways. And when someone doesn't tell you that they're following and doing something unhealthy and just pretending that that's normal, or also I feel like these days, there are so many filters on Instagram, or so many editing programs that people can just use and completely edit the image out. And if you look at pictures, other people who on social media who actually use the filters, and you feel like they look like that all the time. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself from all the angles in the morning after you just had food, you know, when I don't know, feeling puffy, and you feel like you are different, and you know, people look way better than you do without realizing that we see only one picture where they look their best, where they under a certain light in a certain shape. And I was wondering, what's your opinion on this whole social media and using so many filters that change the body, especially on TikTok?
I might have a different opinion. I mean, I totally agree. You know, I think like, what is it called? Like face filter? Not Facetune, Face app, it's called. Like, and you can tell immediately, you know, everyone is using the same, face filter or whatever it's called from Face app. And what I like it's maybe a bit controversial, you know, but so for me, I think so I started my very first, I started my diet because I gained weight back then, but also my ex-boyfriend said something. He said, yeah, you look different when I met you. And obviously I was super in love, you know, I didn't want to, I was like, oh, okay, even he noticed it, you know, so you better start a diet. I would never, ever, ever blame him for everything that came after, though. And I think it's the same with social media. When you see these days, like Kim Kardashian lost weight and now everyone is worried that like people want to be skinny again. I mean, I understand like they have a different role and stuff, you know, but it blaming others won't help you with your situation. What can help you? I also shared that that Victoria's Secret song on TikTok was trending, and is realizing, or is basically you can protect yourself by realizing that they are using filters, that they are not natural, by knowing that, by educating yourself, by knowing that it's unrealistic for instance, a woman my height to be super, super skinny, you know, it's just, by wanting to, or by saying it's bad and it's not, it shouldn't be shown or something, I think you won't help anyone, you know, like I think it's so much more effective if you see that, but if you are aware that it's fake, you know, and that way it doesn't come close to you, you know, because you could use the same filter, you know, and look the same way, you know. So I agree that it is way too much filter, and I don't understand. I know people and they are beautiful, you know, and they're using the filter, and I just don't understand why. But I'm not for like canceling those things or stuff, because it just makes you stronger, it makes you be, how do you say, not independent, like, I don't know the
Regardless of
word.
external circumstances.
Yeah, like just do your thing, like I don't know how to explain, but because like it goes very deep, but there will be so many more challenges and you have to face them, like you are you and you can't expect others to do something in order for you to feel better. You have to do it yourself. And I think by just canceling those filters or whatever, or saying, Kim Kardashian, please gain weight again. No, we can't help people. You have to become strong inside so that doesn't even affect you anymore. And I think that's a learning experience by seeing someone looking super different and knowing, oh, they're just using a filter, like it doesn't affect me because I know it's fake, so that's where I wanted to go.
Mic drop. I don't know why you mentioned that might be a controversial opinion, because I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever we try to put the power on something external, because when you say they should not be doing X, you're removing the power from yourself, because you can feel confident regardless of the external circumstance. It depends on you. And when you say, I don't feel confident because someone did X, you put the power in that
exactly
instead of power in your own hands.
Exactly.
And I think the main point that I was trying to make is just to realize that some things that we might see on social media is or could be fake. It could be like to not view it and just that's the reality and that's how people are and that's like 100% how they look and stuff like that. Realizing that there might be filters that the person used, that might be certain angles that they filmed in, and just also not comparing yourself, which is another topic I really wanted to get in with, to talk about with you, because we all know that we're all unique and that we should not be comparing. And I wanted to ask, do you still compare? I remember I was seeing some of the notes that you were saying that everyone is unique, don't compare. Do you still find yourself comparing? And if no, how did you achieve it? And if yes, in which circumstances do you still find yourself comparing?
I always say be unique, be you, because, there's no better way than being unique, just being you, because there's just one you. I don't compare myself. No, definitely not on like look wise, like I don't compare. Back then I definitely compared myself. I thought you're the same height as those models, why is your body different and stuff. I see, like when I see something, but I'm speaking more of like business goals and stuff like that, I'm more like admired by someone, and I inspired, but in comparison, I think it doesn't have to always be negative. You can be inspired, but I think you always have to be realistic. That's the thing. Because eventually, like even when I say, like the body I have today, like is even if I don't work out for like, I don't know, like 4, 6, 8 weeks, like it won't change. But everyone also has a different figure. We can, even if we all ate the same, did the same workout, we still have a different body shape. Like my shoulders are very broad, but my legs are super long, like then there's might be another woman that has shorter legs but super like small shoulders and stuff, so everyone is built, so we can't even compare, because even if we all did the same thing, we're different because we're unique. But no, I don't compare myself at all. Of course, there are things sometimes I'm annoyed by, especially I think as a woman, like one day you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I love myself. And the next day it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to look at myself. I think that's completely natural. And expecting something else is unrealistic. Also, like too much pressure, like, yes, I love myself, but there are definitely days I don't want to look into the mirror, and that's okay.
I found it so interesting how I was looking through my camera roll and I would look at some of my pictures that I've taken like a year ago. And I would be like, oh my God, I looked so beautiful. And why, when I was in the moment, I would find a fault or something that I did not like. I'm like, oh, my hair this day did not look so good, or, something else. And it's so interesting how looking back at the pictures, I was like, oh my God, I just looked so beautiful in this picture. Why was I even trying to find something that I did not like about myself? And it's quite interesting because when you said, as women, that's something that we tend to do. Some days say like, oh my God, I love myself. Some other days it's like, God, I want to see it. Why?
But it's always in hindsight, right? Like when so last year, all the before pictures I always share, like, it happened, like I gained 12 kilos in less than 6 weeks, which is a huge amount in such a short amount of time. And I wasn't even what bothered me wasn't the fact that I gained weight. It was the fact that I gained so much weight in such a short amount of time by not being able to stop eating. And before that, I was like I am today, and I always wanted, like 2 years ago, I wanted to lose like 3 more kilos, because I had this number in my head. And then I gained like 12 kilos instead of losing 3 kilos. And when I then looked at my before pictures, I was like, what was wrong with you? You looked amazing. Like, and almost too thin. Like, why did you want to lose more weight? So that's why I'm grateful for everything that happened, because it actually truly opened my eyes. Like I wasn't seeing, I don't know what I saw, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I also think that developing a healthy relationship with food is related a lot to developing a healthy relationship with yourself and a healthy love and relationship with yourself, where you can actually listen to yourself, you check in with yourself, how you're feeling, and able to like respect and cater and love yourself. And I feel like when that grows, then also relationships with food or anything else in your life also get better. And I was wondering, how did developing a better relationship with yourself and working on your mind that also has helped or improved your journey?
I must honestly say that I never had a bad relationship with myself. I was always very lucky. I was a kid. I was allowed to speak my mind and stuff. I was always very confident. And, but I think I would almost say maybe it was some sort of arrogance, like when I thought, no, but you can lose more weight, like, I don't know, like maybe it was also something I wanted to, because I made everything dependent on losing a few more kilos. When I was modeling, I made like my career dependent on, oh yeah, when I lose 5 more kilos, then I can get better jobs. And when I stopped modeling and then I started like sharing my stuff, like I wanted to create a YouTube channel and be on TikTok and stuff. And I thought, if you're a bit thinner, you'll be much more successful. Like it was always, I made everything dependent on the weight. And what actually really changed was that those 12 kilos I've gained, and me realizing that I was never recovered or never healed in any way for the almost 10 years, and that I just was sick of dieting. I was sick of overthinking. I was sick of envying friends that could just put food aside, when they were full. Like when I had dinner with a friend and she was full, she would stop and I wouldn't understand. I was envying her. Like, how can she just stop? Like, I have to finish, like just this weird, there wasn't no extreme anymore. 3 years in the beginning, I was bulimic. Like I overcame that in 2016. But still, I was far from having a normal relationship with food. So the wish or the desire to be normal again, that was what helped me give up dieting. And then everything that resulted, like sharing it, making it a career, like that's what I'm doing for a living, sharing my story and helping others and everything. I think, but also I think just realizing that there are things that are much more important than a look, than a certain weight. And I must honestly say, I can't tell you what exactly changed, because today I'm at the same, I have the same figure as back then when I still wanted to lose 5 kilos, but today I'm happy with myself. I don't want to lose any more weight. I don't know what, maybe it was also just having a new task, a new, a career, just a new life. I think I realized that life is so much more. Like, what I really love about what I'm doing is helping others, like getting all those messages from women saying, oh my God, I never thought I was binge eating for 10 years. And I haven't, like this morning, I read a message and she told me she bought my book in February and she was a binge eater for 10 years and she had no binge attacks since February. And it's just this, is, and that made me realize that life is so much more than just me wanting to see a certain number on the scale, like it's so much bigger. You can do so much more in life than achieving a goal weight, maybe. But I think, I think you're so caught in ideas sometimes that you lose yourself and what you really want.
Yeah, and I think it's just so beautiful how your journey came from you wanted to be a model, wanted to lose the weight, and maybe then you embarked on this whole journey, and then actually the whole journey now became your actual career, and you feel so fulfilled. And I can only imagine by actually helping people, like actually changing their lives.
Yeah.
And because of you being able to share your story, everything that you've learned, and impact them forever. And I cannot imagine a more fulfilling thing that you could ever do. And it's interesting how you had to go through this whole thing yourself. We don't wish it on anyone to go through 10 years of trying to build a good relationship with food, trying to understand yourself. But now that you're helping so many people. And I was reading the messages from you also have a section on your social media where you share the messages from the people, and it's literally the sweetest messages that change your life forever. Those messages give me goosebumps when I read them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's something that keeps you going and keeps you creative. And it's a very fulfilling career. And I was also very impressed by your book and the content that you put together. And I also wanted to ask a few questions there. I saw in one of the questions you mentioned that you just build the approach on your personal way and based on the brain science and what worked for you. And I just wanted to hear a bit more about why did you decide to do it like that? Why didn't you go to some other experts?
Mm-hmm.
And what was your journey there?
So when I was bulimic, no one knew. I didn't tell anyone, but obviously like close friends, like one of my closest friends or even my mom, they would see that I was only eating salads and So they ask like, are you all right? But maybe you should get help and stuff. But I never resonated with the idea of seeing a therapist or anything, because I knew what was wrong with me. I wanted to lose more weight in order to get better jobs, and I wouldn't give that up. I had a wonderful childhood. I think I have normal problems like anyone else, but I was loved. I was heard, there was nothing. And also I started my first diet at the age of 22. Like I was never dieting in my teens or anything like that. So that's why I always knew, like, I don't believe that a therapist would like sitting down with someone and, I never did a therapy. So that's how, I don't want to like judge it or anything, but that's how I imagine it. talking about my past, or my childhood, I was like, no, like I would need someone, like that's what I thought back then. I need someone that can tell me how I can lose weight without having the stupid binge attacks. That was what was in my head. But I never realized that I just have to stop wanting to lose weight, that is the solution. And when a couple of years ago, when I gained those 12 kilos, I realized, okay, like, Samira, something is wrong, like this didn't just happen like that. When I'm saying 12 kilos, I wasn't thinking about like me being bigger. I was thinking about the fact that this even happened. Like, you don't just randomly gain 12 kilos because you can't stop eating in less than 6 weeks. It's not normal, So I realized something is wrong with you, and you have to, you have to get better, because this can't continue like this, like I was dieting for years, and it wasn't, I was canceling weddings and stuff, like in like birthday parties, because I wanted to go on another diet. It was like too much, it was consuming my life. And then I went on YouTube and I typed in how to stop binge eating, because I Googled how to stop binge eating, and all I could find was like, do yoga, call a friend, drink water. I was like, okay, BS, doesn't work for me. I know it won't work for me. And then I stumbled upon a guy's video. It was a man, and he said how you can stop binge eating. And it was a very in-depth video, and he recommended a book. I ordered the book and like 10 other books, like Amazon, when you order one, they recommend other books. So I think I ordered like 8 books or something, and they arrived and I started reading them all. And the author, Catherine Hansen, so the book is called Brain Over Binge. She explains, like, she was bulimic as well for many years, and she did therapy, traditional therapy, and it never worked for her. And she talked about how the binge attacks are habits, and for the first time it made sense to me. I was like, oh my God, yeah, because it feels like I can't do anything against it, But then I wasn't bulimic anymore. And I was like, I don't know if this works for me, because I am not a bulimic anymore. I didn't have like huge binge attacks anymore. I just couldn't stop eating, and I felt the guilt, So I just I read further and I educated myself more in everything. And that's how I came up with my book, because I was struggling with binge eating, emotional eating, and compulsive eating, and the diet mindset, the yo-yo dieting. And that's what I talk about in my book. And compulsive eating is something like when you have to finish the plate, when you buy a bag of cookies and you can't just have one, you have to finish all of them. That was my biggest issue, and not bulimia or binge eating anymore. But you can heal everything in a very similar way and a similar approach. And that's what I'm sharing in my book. And but yeah, through her book, Brain Over Binge, Catherine Hansen definitely gave me a new perspective and the answer, because I wouldn't, like, traditional therapy wasn't for me, it never set right with me, like to try to find some childhood trauma and then hope to stop binge eating. I mean, I still believe it doesn't work. I think that's why people relapse. And yeah.
I love that. And also, I think the thing that I just absolutely love about you is how you take full ownership for whatever is happening in your life. You don't want to place it on something that happened in your childhood. And of course, I don't want to sound like bad things could not have happened in people's childhood that actually impacted them badly.
Yeah, no, totally.
100%, that's not what I'm saying. I actually read recently a book which is called The Body Keeps the Score. And I was completely mind blown by the impact of childhood trauma and how it impacts the brain. And then again, the brain is completely rewired and has not managed to develop properly. So I'm not dismissing that, but I just really love the approach that you're taking. Completely opposite to the victim mindset. You have the empowerment mindset. I can do something about it. I know what's the problem. I'm looking for the solution.
Yeah.
I found actually the solution I've written this book, and now it's also helping others because they say it's incredible that I feel like you give power back to people because you tell them it's actually something that you're doing, meaning you can also change it. You can rewire your brain.
Exactly.
I love that because I feel like that's something that could be a bit different in today's culture, that there is more mindset versus empowering mindset. And for the longest time, I had as my phone cover, I had a quote that said, "Everything is my fault." And then everyone would, when they would see my phone, they were like, "Liza, are you depressed? Are you okay? Why do you have this quote as your phone cover?" And from my side, I would say, you don't understand. This is the most empowering quote. Because if something is my fault, I can do something to change it. There's something that's under my influence, something that I can do differently in the future, could have done. And then I feel this gives power back to me. Whereas when I put the power on something external and say like, yeah,
exactly, it's not in your hands.
I could have done nothing. I could have done. It was all what's on my God. It's like so outside of my head.
Exactly. And that's, I think, I always say, like, of course, I want to help you overcome your eating struggles, but I also want to help you become confident. And by confidence, I don't mean like that you look into the mirror and say, I'm so hot or something, like that's not real confidence. Most of the time, I looked in the mirror and I felt, and I looked at myself and I thought, yeah, you look good, but I still was not confident when it came to eating. And when you're like, confidence is the key to everything, like, because it's true. Like if you take accountability and you can do whatever you want, and like, you just have to believe in yourself and you have to be confident and not the fake confidence, like I'm a hot woman or da, da, da. I mean, of course, yeah, if you think you're hot, great, I'm not saying that's anything wrong, but like in life, that you can achieve whatever you want because yeah, you're the another, phrase, you're the creator of your life, and it's so true. But you obviously need confidence. You need to believe in yourself. And I think taking accountability and not blaming others is the first step in getting there, So if you successfully overcame like your eating struggles because you take the accountability, you no longer blame your ex-boyfriend or kids in school that bullied you or something. Of course, that's horrible. And we all have our reasons why we are here, but blaming them won't change anything about our situation. Only we can change our situation. And that's why you have to be confident and believe in yourself.
It's so interesting because actually one of the questions that I also wrote down as I was preparing for the interview, I wrote down, what is confidence for you? And and you just answered it. What is confidence for you? And I love that. And I'm really also on a personal quest to discover why so many girls in their early 20s feel so not confident. And I feel like if you don't feel confident, you will not go for your dreams. You will not take some opportunities just because you don't trust yourself. You don't feel confident. And I always was quite lucky because I always felt confident and trusting myself that I could just do it. And as you mentioned, confidence is so much beyond just the way you look, but also having this trust in yourself that you can do it. And once you show up with confidence, you also are way more likely to succeed in whatever you set out to do because you can do it, and then you're more likely to actually be able to do it. So what are your thoughts why so many young girls do not feel confident? Do you think it's because they don't take ownership, or
no? I think it's just little life experience, like, I mean, look, let's take another example. Let's say dating, like unless you meet someone when you're 16 and you marry them when you're 25 and you have kids with them when you're 30, it's not the usual thing. Like I dated, 10 years ago, I was in a relationship, but let's say 8 years ago, I dated completely different back then than I do these days, and I think, of course, I would never, I feel super sorry for like people that are not confident in terms of like I'm not worth anything or stuff like that, but not being super confident by the age of 20 or 17 or 22 is, I think, normal, and you and I mean, I'm 32 now. I'll probably be even more confident in 10 years, because I'll just have more life experience. I think what makes you confident is just like, are things you go through, like your experience. And that might be it. But then obviously I can also imagine, like going back to the social media, like, seeing all those beautiful people, and yeah, you look different, and maybe, or not maybe, but most likely like a 20-year-old or like 15-year-old isn't that mature yet to know that these people are fake or using filters and stuff like that, so I think it's a lot together. It's a lot of things, but I think definitely life experience makes us more confident the older we get. Like older people, they're so much more relaxed because they went through so many more things, So,
yeah. And I think hopefully that they went through things, and most of the things that they went through, actually they managed to view them in an empowering light, because I also believe that if you view some events in non-empowering light, you can also become less and less confident because you're having some bad experience, and you can start blaming yourself and get more and more not confident. But also I absolutely agree with you, because I remember when I just started my job, and it's more work related than looks related. But I remember when I started my job, and like I would do something wrong, I was like, oh my god, the whole project will fail because of this, and you get so nervous, and you just don't have the life experience. You don't know that in the end it will be fine. Whereas now when something goes wrong, it's like, oh, I know how to fix it. I'm so much more relaxed. I know how to deal with it. Just because we already had that experience, and that's why I do agree with you. And it's quite an interesting perspective that you mentioned, that maybe it's normal to not feel that confident when you're
when you're young. Yeah, or in your teens. I think as kids, like a lot of kids are because we don't really face like fears, like kids, like young kids, you always like. One always says like they're very honest and stuff, they're unfiltered. But then I think in the teens, it starts probably to become like that we become less confident, and then it grows again.
Yeah, but I almost feel like it's a natural development of the human being. You act one way as a child, and then as a teenager, you try to break out from the rules and rebel, and then you go to your 20s. And I feel like it's so beautiful because it's different stages of life.
Definitely, I agree.
Something that I also really wanted to ask you, I'm really curious, as you mentioned that you were semi-modeling, and back in the days, the industry was quite different than what it is now. And I was wondering, what is your view on body positivity, and what is your view on the way that current brands are? I saw Victoria's Secret has changed their strategy completely, Nike. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts on this whole reorganization of the model world?
I think like I have a friend, and in London, she's German, but she lives in London, and she is like, I think they call it straight size, like just natural, like I think I would be like a straight size model. Like if I was modeling, you're not overweight, you're not underweight. I love that anybody can do it now, that you no longer have to, starve yourself. Or even back then I read like there was a model, I don't know her name, but she was a plus size model, and she naturally would lose weight, but she wasn't allowed to. So she had to eat more and more, I don't know much about the body positivity movement. What I know though, from personal, like people I know personally, there's a lot of fake as well, like people that use hashtags body positivity, they get lipo, and they get jobs done, so the body is more shaped. And I don't know, like, to be honest, I think all those movements, like it's definitely cool that you see more different shapes and sizes and everything, but still don't believe everything you see on the internet, because I even find it more dangerous for someone that carries more weight to see someone super beautiful and like the same weight, maybe the same clothing size, but they're super in shape. When I'm heavier, I'm not like curvy, like, no. I think there are definitely women that are probably blessed and very curvy and, like have a beautiful curvy body, but then there are a lot of women that are plus size and that aren't that perfectly shaped. And what they don't know, that many of those women aren't natural that way either, that went to the doc and got jobs done to look like perfectly curved. That's why I'd be just careful in believing stuff, get inspired and everything. But as we said, like, don't compare yourself because you have no idea what actually is going on behind closed doors, what's real, what's fake. And so, yeah. So I think there's a lot of there's not a lot of transparency on both sides. Like it's always like the regular size is just living balance, but they're super skinny and you wonder like how and they're doing it. And then like the plus size doesn't care about anything. I'm not saying like of that it's only, but they are, people like that. So you can't believe everything. I definitely like that you have more shapes and sizes, but still don't compare yourself.
Yeah. I think it's a great insight as well, just to know that we don't know so much of what exactly going on behind the closed doors and what anyone is going through. And I think it's just like great insight, and just to always fall back on not comparing yourself to anyone else and just being you in your own way.
Yeah, exactly.
And in being you in your own way, what are some of your future projects or some exciting things that you see yourself doing in the coming next few years? How do you plan to serve your community more and more? I'm sure you have some exciting plans.
Yes, I definitely want to start a podcast. Like I wanted to start it earlier, but I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go, with the podcast. And I connected with so many people, and I want to create this podcast and just make it an inspiring place, but also I want to interview people that have just different opinion on things, that you don't hear so often, and anything like lifestyle and health, obviously. So that's something I want to do. And other than that, I definitely have things in mind, but like business wise, I want to create a community, because right now I have my TikTok, which is huge, and I have the Instagram, but I don't have one place where I can actually connect with them on a deeper level. That's something I would love to do. I just have to think about how. I have ideas and stuff, but creating a community so they can also interact. It's not just me and showing them things. It's also, I had a community meetup in London with a few people, and connecting them was amazing, because maybe you're in the same city and maybe you find someone through me. I can connect you, and then you can be on the same journey and get better together, and not doing it alone, because I think that's a huge thing, that especially when it comes to binge eating and overeating, it's not discussed, or it's not discussed so openly, and there aren't so many people, and sometimes people feel very alone, and that's what I want to create a community where people can actually connect so they don't have to do it alone, because obviously I can't meet every one of my followers, and hang out with them. So yeah, the podcast and the community, but the community, I'll have to see how I do it. Not sure yet.
That's beautiful. There's so much power in community and bringing people together, like-minded, or people going through similar struggles. And speaking about connecting, where people can find you, connect with you.
So I just actually redesigned my website because I created this, have a really nice blog where I really go into depth, like in a 15-second TikTok video, it's not possible. So samiraport.com is my website. And then on my socials, like Instagram, I do a lot of my stories, Samira Port, and my TikTok, like daily videos, also Samira Port.
Awesome. And my last question would be, let's say you're 80 years old, you're looking back at your life and you're saying, I wish I've done that. So now going back to this present moment, you have not done it yet, but you already know that you really, really need to do this. What it is for you, if you have anything like that.
I hope by the time I'm 80, I have grandkids, so right now, maybe it's my age, I'm 32 now. I want like the idea of a family is just very in my head, like this, but other than creating a family is seeing more places. Like I've traveled a lot, but I've been, to a lot of cities, but I would love to see places I've never been. You do the usual stuff. You go to the Caribbean, or you go to, I don't know, New York or LA, or, the cities. I want to see, I've never been to Japan. I would love to take the train and travel through Japan for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something. I would love to travel more, but to actually get to know different cultures and not just seeing another great big city. I love cities, but I don't have to travel 12 hours to see another big city, when you have London and everything. But yeah, I think traveling more and seeing more different nature and cultures and actually getting to know them and not just the cities.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope you get to do that.
Yeah.
And I always love asking this question because I feel like it's quite thought-provoking for the guests coming on the show. And thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank
I had
you so
the best
much.
time with you, Samira. And I loved our conversation. I love the way you think. And
thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed this episode.
I hope so too.